Hi, I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy, with another Global Real Estate School podcast. Welcome to the podcast. My name is John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy, and this is episode 076 from Global Real Estate School. Well, hopefully you are listening to the podcast because hopefully you're just listening because you like real estate and you like the podcast, but maybe you are getting ready to take the real estate examination, or you are thinking about a career in real estate, wondering what this is all about. Some of you may be listening because you've already attended my course and you hopefully are now a licensed real estate agent and doing very well. And I think if that's the case, you would agree with what I will talk about on today's podcast. And I think maybe I have talked about this before in the past, but I just really wanted to go over, kind of take a break from some of the definitions and quizzes and things we talk about on the podcast, but really discuss more today about test taking, a test taking tip. Recently, I took the examination because we just got our school approved in Oklahoma. And we're excited about that. So we are now going to be offering the real estate salesperson's course in Oklahoma. And we're going to add the practice course soon and hopefully the broker's courses as well. So I had to take the examination in St. Louis through the PSI examination agency. And it was really a very healthy experience for me as an instructor in Missouri. We're always asking if we can go take the examination, and of course, we're not allowed to do that. But this really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I think will be beneficial for me in explaining to students about the testing center, kind of the feeling and the vibe. For one thing, I've been teaching pre-licensed real estate since the 1980s, 1987 to be exact. When I was only 27 years old, I started my school. And in those days, it was pencil and paper, number 2 pencil on a paper, and you did not find out your results for 1 week or longer. Today, you get you find out instantaneously. But back in the day, it was, you had to, circle the ovals in with a number 2 pencil, and they only offered the test on the third Saturday of every month, which was kind of cool because as real estate schools, we could design our live programs so that they would finish on the Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday prior to the Saturday examination, and then you could review a couple of days and you could go in, take the test. You had it all right there, ready to go. Today, it's totally different. Back in the day when I first started, there were no online real estate schools. You had to go physically to a classroom, and it may take 3 or 4 weeks or all 1 week, all day long, every day. And of course, today, that's totally different. You can still go to a live classroom, but you can also take it online, as we offer at Global Real Estate School. But the exam's on a computer, and you go to a testing center, and it's available Monday through Friday and Saturdays in some locations. So what I wanted you to understand is back years ago, when you went to take your real estate exam on the third Saturday, it was all real estate test takers. That's the only people who were in the room. Today, if you go to a testing center such as PSI, for instance, there was a lady next to me who was taking the barber exam. 2 stations down, a lady was taking a nurse practitioner's exam. Someone else was taking some other type of exam. And what I want you to know, and what I think is good for me, being able to go to the test center like that, is to say to my students, you may be the only person in that room who's taking a real estate exam. Now, why is that information important? Because the girl next to me who was taking her barber license, her exam was only 50 questions. Someone else in the room had a 100-question test. Mine was 130 questions. Someone else in our, because we were all talking, said their exam was 150 questions. So I don't want my students to get upset if people are getting up and leaving, or more specifically, I want you to understand, don't panic if people are getting up and finishing and you're sitting there thinking, why am I only on question 60 and there are people that are finished and leaving? They may only have a 50-question examination. But those kind of things can sometimes really play with your mental game. And I don't want you to let the distractions of people leaving to make you think you're doing something wrong, or maybe there's a problem, okay? Because there's all kinds of test takers. So I think that's number one, very good for you to know. Second thing is, they don't want you cannot take a cell phone in. You ought to just leave that in your car. They're not going to let you take programmable calculators in. In my situation, I had to literally put my handkerchief in my back pocket and all of the stuff that were in my front pockets into a container that was locked up, and I was given a number to be, or the bag. Actually, I kept the bag in my possession, but it was locked up. I had to put it on the back of my seat. They don't want you to take a big coat in or something like that. You just need to be prepared not to take anything into the examination that could throw that off. Second thing, you're going to need 2 really good forms of ID. So don't forget that. And a lot of this is on the test taking booklet. But, I didn't realize, and I haven't told any of my students, they're not even going to let you take a handkerchief. And I actually had a cough and a runny nose, a little bit of a runny nose the day I took the examination. They give you scrap paper and they give you a pencil. The pencil I had was like worn down to a stub, and I'm one of these people. I was one of the kids in school that was at the pencil sharpener for I wanted to see just how fine-tuned I could get my pencil. But, there's just some things like that I learned. But here's what I want to really talk about today for today's podcast, and don't want to belabor, is that correct? I don't want to go on for 9 minutes on a lot of stuff, but I think it's good for you to know what I've told you, is that I went through the test, and you have the ability to click the mark button. So when you're taking the test online, if you want to come back to a question, there's just a little tab and you select mark, and it allows you to go on to the next question. Now, you can not answer the question, or you can answer. I would encourage you to, if you narrow it down to 2 and you're just not certain and you want to come back, mark it. But as I went through, if I felt like I'm really not 100% positive on the question, I just marked it. Well, when I got to 60 questions, I looked up and I think I had 17 marked. I thought, man, this isn't good. I've got to make an 85% as an instructor. I have to make a much higher grade. And, I keep marking questions. But if I just did not feel 100% certain, if there was any bit of doubt at all, I just clicked the mark button. Well, my exam was 130 questions. I got to the end, and I had 29 questions marked. So I went back through, and I started looking at those 29, and here's what I want you to take away from today. I didn't change one question. Now, why did I not change any questions? Because I always tell my students, don't change any questions, unless it's just a simple mathematical error, or when you reread the question, you just get it and you understand that, whoops, I know what they're asking now. But I didn't change anything. As I reread those questions, about 10 of them I understood more clearly when I reread the question slowly and several times. And that's the other thing I always tell my students: read the questions at least 2 or 3 times before you attempt to make an answer. So, I'm keeping track of those. So that go round, as I went through, I got down to 19 that I just didn't know. I kind of thought I had them right, but I wasn't certain. So I didn't change anything. And here's why I didn't change anything. And this is what today's podcast is all about. Because I know the material so well, and I studied very hard for the Oklahoma, pretty hard for the Oklahoma examination, because a lot of the rules and regulations are similar to Missouri. But there is something about your subconscious mind that will tend to bring up the information that you've studied and provide you the correct answer. Intuition, your inner man, your subconscious mind, the Holy Spirit, however you want to view that or look at it. If you've studied hard, and I always jokingly say, if you haven't studied and you're just going in trying to outsmart everybody or show everybody how smart you are, the test will chew you up and spit you right out of the testing center. Trust me, okay? If you have not studied, this doesn't work. This is only for those of us who study hard. Your subconscious mind is collecting all of this stuff, and there's proven theories on this from medical schools. You can go Google it, read it. It's been studied and proven. So when you see a question and that first choice wants to really pop out at you, that you think, I think this is the answer, then I would leave that answer and I would not change it. Now, I have talked to students that will tell me they saw a question and they give me the question and the answers, and I'll tell them what the answer is, and they'll say, "Oh, I had that answer and I changed it." I hear that all the time. So I didn't change any answers. So I had 29 the first go round. I could only miss 20 or 19. And I went back through. I didn't change any answers, but I just wanted to reread them again. And I was like, okay, 10 of those I feel pretty confident that what I chose was the correct answer. But I got down to 19. And I'm not saying that. I felt like I had those answers correct, but they were, there was still that little bit of doubt. So my rationale was, okay, I'm down to 19. Surely I've gotten half of those correct and maybe missed half of them. And of the 10 previously that I thought, okay, I'm good with those, there might be 1 or 2 there. So, and maybe of the other 101 questions, I misread something and missed 1 or 2 there. So I thought, you know what? I think I'm safe. Maybe I missed 14 or 15. Now, the good news is I only missed a few, okay? But I just want you to know how I kind of mentally and methodically went through the test and how I felt a little better about the entire situation. But what I want you to take away from the podcast today is this. Don't change your answers, okay? Subconsciously, you're bringing something to the surface that your mind is saying, you've studied this, and this is the answer. It's tucked away down deep, and even though you don't feel real confident about it, your intuition is telling you it's probably and if you reread that a second time, and again, I'm just talking about when you're rereading, sometimes you reread and you say, oh, no, they're talking about quarterly and I answered annually, or it's just very obvious that you misread that question, okay? In other words, all except or whatever. But these are for the questions where you say, man, it could just be either A or C. I've answered A. C keeps really, trying to get me to change my answer. Don't do it. Leave A and go on. And I'm telling you what, you're going to have a much better odds of getting that question correct. Okay, so I wanted to just give you a podcast today to talk a little bit about, and I'm a little bit longer than that, some things I experienced. Just go in, be relaxed, take a deep breath, and take your time. There are no points for rushing through the exam and finishing quickly. No points whatsoever. But also, study for this test hard. Know the definitions. At Global Real Estate School, we have some flashcards you can purchase and download, and you can actually download those to your phone as well. And take those with you. A lot of the questions I saw really, by me knowing the definitions, allowed me to answer the questions. 101 of those questions I just knew because I knew the definitions. Now, and again, I scored very high. I did miss a couple. As an instructor, we're all going to miss some, but I did score a very high passing percentage. And keep in mind, I had 30 questions from the Oklahoma side that I had never, it was the first time I was being tested on. But the questions are worded very challenging. And so I have also at Global Real Estate School practice exams that you can purchase. And there's some good questions there you might want to take a look at. They're national specific, but I don't care if you're in Hawaii, California, Idaho, Minnesota, Maine. I'll go around the Florida. If you're taking the real estate exam, our practice exams are national specific, and they will help you with the national portion of the test. And I spend a lot of time adding new questions, rewriting some of those so that you can experience the challenges that most people have with how difficult the questions are. And we're adding audio explanation feedback to those questions as well. So go to globalrealestateschool.com, check out our flashcards or the practice exams that we have, because they will help you regardless of what state you are in. Now, on Thursday nights, we have a live streaming session. You are welcome to join us at no charge. It's called Help Me Pass the Real Estate Exam.com. If you go there now, it's going to show we're off the air. But on Thursday nights, most Thursday nights, unless I have something come up, we're going live at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. That's Chicago time. I'm in St. Louis, but I'm on Chicago time, or just south of St. Louis. But help me pass the real estate exam. Join us. It's free. And we always cover national content, so it's not going to mess you up if you are in Georgia or South Carolina and you're preparing for the real estate exam. I think you'll pick up some good advice, tips, and help. Subscribe to our podcast. Give us a 5-star review and some nice comments. I always appreciate that. And remember, when you take the real estate examination, you are not going to do what? I just heard somebody in their car driving down the freeway say, "I'm not going to change my answers, John." And that's exactly what I want you to take away from today's podcast. Thank you for listening to the podcast for Global Real Estate School. I'm John Mayfield, the Real Estate Tech Guy. Go out and make it a great day.